All right, so we're just simply going to dive into this topic, which is on understanding laboratory accreditation, which you
Yeah.
have a lot of experience in. So when I went through your profile, I was just like, wow, this is a great fit for this particular topic. So to learn from your vast experience and to share from the word of knowledge that you have, being a
Okay.
quality assurance consultant, right?
Yeah.
You're a managing director in a consulting firm in Uganda.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I equally went through your page. I saw a lot of great things there, trainings, the knowledge that we share on the platform, which is amazing. I, as a young professional, I usually define myself as an entry level professional in the field. So I'm still learning from senior colleagues and from peers, which will help me build up a lot of knowledge in the vision that we have for LabTalk. So I'm really happy to have you join us today. So we're just going to dive in what we have today. So welcome once more.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kevin.
All right, to begin with, we always start with an introduction. We'd like to know who Madam Viola is. Tell us more about yourself, how your journey has been, and how is it going so far?
Well, I could take all day, I'm a teacher, so teachers usually speak a lot, but today I'll be a bit brief. Who's Viola? Um, Nakidde Viola is a medical laboratory scientist who studied in a university in Uganda called Bara University of Science and Technology, known as MUST. We did a 4-year course. I graduated back in 2016, joined immediately employment. I was lucky. My first interview, I got a job. I worked with Lansing Laboratories. I don't know if you've heard of them. They have a branch in Uganda. So I worked there first year as a laboratory technologist on bench, rotating in different departments. And then there was a quality manager. And, people were struggling with quality. So I was intrigued. I always like hard things. I'm like, what is this? What are these guys talking about? And everyone didn't like quality. So I just said, let me take it up. It was a free post, no payment. But I'm like, so that's where my journey in the area of quality management, accreditation, and laboratory management started. So I took on the role. I was, able to be formalized. So because I was a quality officer 1 year after school, did that for about, 2 years. Then I was also promoted to being the lab manager for the main lab of Lancet Laboratories. By then, the laboratory had about 21 branches around the country. And of course, it has roots in Africa, that is South Africa, Kenya, and many other countries. So I was able to be able to manage the main laboratory, but from being the quality officer for all the about 21 laboratories. So that gave me a bit of experience. And before we knew it, management wanted the lab to go for accreditation. So I was able to work with that team and we were able to achieve that. So I left Lancet, I joined the hospital setting. I wanted to see how do hospitals work in line, just not as a standard on lab. How do hospitals work? Okay. So then I was able to join one of the biggest hospitals in the country as a quality officer there, Nakasura Hospital. I did that for 2 years. It gave me a vast knowledge of the different gaps in healthcare, especially in the field of lab. So from there, when I left, as a person that thought of, becoming formalizing. I was doing it on the side. Hospitals were calling me in to assist them implement their quality management systems. But this time round, I just said, what, let me first do this. Let me pause a bit in my career because since 2020, since 2016, and now it's 2020, but then it was 2024. I said, let me just pause a little and see how is the market, what can I do? And indeed, I found that there's a lot I was able to do. I was like, yes, let me first explore some. One of my mentors, is doing the same thing in Kenya. He's called Paul Kahara, Ranko Group. Yes,
Yeah, I know of him.
yes.
So
He's such a my personal friend. So I said, Paul, I want to do this. Like, Viola, you can do it. You can do it. He pumped me, and then he helped me put up structures. And now here we are. So far, I've been working here for about 2 years. I've partnered with the Ministry of, with the Macquarie University, one of the biggest hospitals, and so many other brands, basically coming in to do trainings. Okay, right now we do majorly trainings and uh, implementation of quality management systems. Okay, so that's what we are doing. We are glad that for now we are doing hospitals because in Uganda it's a virgin area, honestly. Um, okay, healthcare in general, certification and accreditation of healthcare is it's not very, So right now we do trainings in both technical and managerial aspects. We do trainings in areas of ISO 15189, 2022 implementation, in areas of 19001, in areas of 17025. Right now we have a malaria training coming up, peripheral blood film. So whatever our clients need, we bring it on board. And for our consultancy arm is if our client needs us to set up systems for them in the laboratory to be able to advise them. So we do lab advisory, documentation and all. So we come in, we strip the system, we do a gap analysis. We concentrate on a scope and we do that for them. So that's where we are right now as VIQAP Consultancy Services. So in a nutshell, that's Viola for you, and I'm managing that.
wow, that's pretty a lot. Wow, that's a
Yeah.
lot on your shoulders. Wow, that's an amazing journey you have there. From Lancet to probably a hospital to consultancy. Wow, you have
Yeah.
done much. I'm sure,
Yeah.
I'm very, very sure that definitely going to be a mentee.
I think you have a vast experience yourself. You said you're managing 9. Is it 9?
Yeah, yeah,
That's a
no.
lot of work. You know how quality is. Just one facility is already headache. Now 9. If you don't have systems in place, you can go mad. So that's really good.
Very, very true. Very true.
Yes.
Especially at
Yes.
the level of handling the personnel is really crazy.
It's crazy because they're all different. This one will say yes to your things, the other one will be like, no, I'm not getting paid. So you have to go at the tactics. It's terrible. But
Yeah,
you always have to find ways to work with them. You get the ones that you can really work with and try to see if you can persuade the others. If they don't come around, work will still be done. If they do, well and good. So good luck on that one. It's not easy. I know.
yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when it comes to implementing quality management system facilities, the number one barrier that one has is handling the personnel, bringing that new concept to them and them implementing it. Like the issue you just mentioned of payment. Some personnel will only tell you that they're not being paid for that. And you have to actually find a way around that to ensure that
Yes.
what they are giving out to patients is actually something of quality. If not,
Yes.
at the end of the day, we're just turning around the same circle and just being poor in our performance. So thank you
Yes.
very much for
That's
that.
very true. Yeah. The only thing for personnel, honestly, the most important thing is patience, exercising a lot of patience and knowing that, just like you and I have a brain and understand these things, they too do. We started from somewhere, someone, implanted a seed. So what I've found really effective is not to give up on the communication of what needs to be done. It's like a behavior. If you've studied behavior sciences,
Yeah,
constant, it's like an advert, and giving them always saying the positives of what could come up, positives of what could come up in this. Eventually, You'll have a few on board, but there'll still be those ones who resist you till the end. You don't have to stress about those. I'll give you a story if you allow me. I
Yeah.
remember when I had just entered Nakasero Hospital. This is sorry, you cut that out. When I just okay, but it's known.
No,
When I
no
just entered
problem.
my previous workplace, of course, I didn't find systems in place. I'm like, what? This is a big hospital, but I've realized that that's, everywhere almost.
Mhm.
So I remember sitting in a meeting, my first meeting as a quality officer, and I'm telling the team, you know what? I am here now. We're going to work together. This is not me. It is your system. You know those things. And one of the team members told me, you see, Madam Viola, we don't want to lie to you, but you are not the first one, to
Mhm.
come here. The other four also tried, but they didn't. So I request you
Oh,
calm down.
wow.
Oh my God.
That
I
one.
was like, Jesus, what have you brought? What is this? So in a nutshell, I left when he was the head of quality improvement in the laboratory by the time I left. So how did I convert him? I knew that it's exactly this is the resistance I was going to meet, and I just brought him closer. He was a brilliant man. I explained, didn't take things personally. In quality, you don't, because everyone will be your enemy. Explained, gave him tasks, and before I knew it, he took up the tasks of quality improvement. He'll go to his friends, guys, you're not doing this. So that's quality, implementation for you.
Very, very
Yeah.
true.
Mm.
It seems like the experience of implementing quality management system is very similar in every African country, right? The resistance and the
Yes.
back and forth with
Yes.
personnel and with the team you find on ground. So it's almost similar. And like you said, as a
Yes, it is.
manager and as a consultant, you always have to find a way around it. So that's Africa for
Yeah.
us, laboratory setting in Africa for us.
Yes. That's
All
true.
right.
That's true. And they always ask for money. Yeah. So that's true.
Yeah, yeah. So let's dive into the first question that I have for today. We're learning from our expert. You are the expert.
I think we are two experts, but oh well.
Well, thank you for throwing flowers at me. I collect them. All right. From your vast experience in implementing the quality management system in over 13 laboratories in Kenya, Uganda, and in the countries around, how will you frame the concept of laboratory accreditation, let's say to a junior colleague?
Okay. So if I'm to explain the concept of laboratory accreditation, it will be something like it's a process that laboratories go through where they invite in someone else, someone who's not has no interest whatsoever in their services, has no interest in the company, their third party, someone, you know, who has no bias over them, is not interested in their things they do. So they invite in that party, okay, who has been also qualified by a higher body that they are able to give to do a good job, to assess, to do audits, and stamp it whether or not the results you're giving out, the services you're giving out, or the products that you're issuing out are of precision, are accurate, and that they can stand by them. So they give you that formal recognition that you know what the processes that are happening here are giving precise results in these particular tests. So that's how I would put it in a layman's language.
Wow, thank you very much for that explanation. Just from what you just explained, like many other professional may not understand and may not have grasped the concept yet. Uh, ISO accreditation varies, and different ISO accreditation as let me say attestation that the laboratory can obtain. You mentioned the ISO 5189, mentioned the 170 and the 9001. So that should be it. And that's one pertinent thing that many professionals should pay attention to. So a follow-up question to that, right? I
Yes.
if you permit me to mention this, the recent report that ASLM recently published on their LinkedIn page, I think it's the national should I the name is skipping my head. It's talking about the national accreditation body, right? Implementing quality management system governed by the national territory. There's a statistic that is kind of very shocking to me, right? From the document, it shows that there are less than 200 accredited laboratories in Africa. And I was like, what?
Yes.
That's a really shocking news to hear. And a continent that's 54 countries, having just less than 200 accredited laboratories, I won't say it's projecting more of quality when it comes to delivering results to their patient. We have a very large population, right? Having just less than 200 laboratories which are accredited is something that should be improved on. I think it should be a quick one, right? Should be a warning sign, if I should put it that way, right? So I would like to ask, how important is laboratory accreditation, given this particular statistic that ASLM recently published, right? Important is it, and what should national bodies pay attention to when it comes to accreditation?
Accreditation, it's a sad statistic, but it's reality. And I think we shall talk about why it's that way in a bit. But the importance of accreditation is one, you trust your tests or your test results. Okay. So I'm giving, in laboratory we are going in the line of One Health approach. So we don't only concentrate on medical labs
Mhm.
because now there are animal labs, there is research and all that. Okay. So whatever result you are giving out or whatever your goal is, it ensures accreditation ensures that your results are reliable. Okay. And with a reliable result, that means that for the cases of medical laboratories, your patient outcomes are going to be better. Your patient management is going to be better. We have had cases where you release a test result and the patient ends up dead because of those inaccuracies. So it tries to curb some of those inaccuracies, not at 100%, as we all must agree, about 95%. If a lab is accredited with a really good accreditation body, you can trust 95% of the results. So there's that. The personnel, okay, remember accreditation takes both technical and managerial competences. So in the technical competences, we are looking at the personnel are going to improve in knowledge, not only just leadership and what, but also technical skills, because accreditation checks whether or not the personnel working on the different tests or on the different giving the different services are competent in those areas with beyond reasonable doubt. So you're going to have improved you're going to know that your technologists or your staff are technically competent, which is very good for them. Your equipment, okay, are going to be checked. So you're sure that you're working with great equipment. Your processes are going to be checked. Your reagents, what you're using, is it up to the standard? Remember the other standard I talked about? That's the particular standard they're accrediting you upon. So what that creates is it creates trust, okay, with your results. That means you're going to have a global reach because a result from an accredited company or an accredited laboratory is able to is recognized and is valid even in another country. An accredited lab from Uganda, a result I've received for CBC, when I come to Cameroon, you said,
Yeah,
that's where you are?
yeah,
Yes, it will still be valid. So it gives you global recognition and trust. And of course, in terms of clientele, these days, the clients we are working on, people want to know accredited. if you want, in terms of business deals with the UN or any other non-government organizations here in Uganda, I don't know what the case is there, they'll ask for your accreditation certificate. And so that gives you a bit of more credibility. So you're looking at, you're improving business, you've improved your staff, you've improved your equipment, and of course your general accuracy and precision in the laboratory. So with that, you have earned trust in the public. Your results are able to go global reach. And even looking at the managerial requirements, your management system is at bay. So you're able to handle, you're able to sustainably handle a laboratory. So those are some of the advantages of what accreditation can give you, that you can sit in your office and say, you know what, 95% of the results I'm releasing for this particular test that is accredited are accurate and precise.
Wow, thank you very much. Wow, that's really something very, very important, right? Giving a laboratory global recognition, right? Like what you just mentioned about a valid result in Uganda being valid in Cameroon, right? I'm sure that some laboratories which I've visited, I'm not even sure if the result they give out can be valid in the next region, right? That's a sad reality. There are a lot of challenges because being a quality assurance mentor, right? You get to some laboratories and you are like, you should just get some fire and just burn everything because
Yes.
what they do there is like going the opposite direction to what quality is. And at some point,
Yeah.
you have to start like from -20, bringing them back to like the zero mark before moving them ahead to what quality looks
Yeah.
like. Thank you very much for
That's
emphasizing
true.
on that very important point, right? Having a global recognition. If your laboratory is
Yes.
getting something, will it be valid in the UK? Will it be valid in Kenya? Will it be valid in South Africa? So,
Yes.
which is very, very important. And equally helps in improving patient outcome, right? The patient should
Mm.
leave your facility being satisfied. All right, I'll just continue for where I stop. You mentioned the importance of why the importance of accreditation for a laboratory, right? Giving them global recognition in terms of their performance and in terms of what they do in the laboratory. Now, many laboratories aspire to, let me not say many, most laboratories aspire to have this accreditation, right? So you, from your experience as a managing director of this consultancy firm, what should laboratory prioritize when they are aiming to get this accreditation for their facility?
Um, so help me explain what you mean by prioritize.
All right, when I talk about priorities, right, it's true the quality management system functions as a block. There's 12 pillars, they function as a block. You cannot just work on one pillar and exclude the other. You have to touch every pillar of the quality management system. So now, when a laboratory wants to gain an accreditation, right, what should they start working on?
Okay. I think for any accreditation process, everything starts with one, documentation. Okay, because that's what is majorly there. Documentation, make sure your processes, because that is even what the accreditation body is going to ask for. They're going to ask for your quality manual and your processes. So that's the beginning. Before you think of where are your processes documented, are your systems documented, and if you ensure that they are the ones are manual auditors. So when I go to a lab, I'm so interested in looking at their whatever influences the validity of their tests. So there are so many things to look at there, things like validation, IQC, EQA. So you should have those at least in place, have your documentation, have your internal quality controls, and have your EQA, because those usually we require about 3 to 6 months. So have those started as we see now how we can work around the others. But yes, definitely have your documentation, be able to sign up for an EQA program for you, the tests that you want to be accredited for, and look out for the IQC, make sure they're validated. The validity of the test is really, those are the pillars that really hold, whether or not someone can consider you for accreditation.
Wow, thank you very much. A very important point on documentation, right?
Yeah.
When we talk about documentation, sorry, I'm a French speaker as well. In French, they say la bête noire, right? Like the monster in the laboratory.
Yes, no one
Right.
likes documentation.
So I was saying that documentation is like a monster in the laboratory, especially for personnel. When you tell them to pen down something, they're like, it's a, no, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and it kind of like bothers them. Meanwhile, that's kind of like that's the foundation for lab quality in the laboratory, because we have
Yes,
this statement in the laboratory that says what is not documented is not done, right?
yes, it's true.
Except I see proof of documentation, it being written down. I cannot approve that this particular process that you told me that you have done was actually done. So accreditation is actually a pillar of, sorry, documentation is a pillar to gaining accreditation.
Yes,
Uh,
that's true.
yeah. So when it comes to I'm going to relate it to another question, which is when it comes to implementing the quality management system in the laboratory, from your own experience, what are three most important challenges that you face? You show at the beginning of the talk, we mentioned some. Can you elaborate more on these challenges when it comes to the implementation of quality management system?
In my experience, for the labs that I have worked with, one, of course, staff attitude, definitely. They look at this as extra work. They want you to be able to pay. You're changing their habits. They've been doing everything okay, and for them, they feel like, why fix it when it's working? And you're coming in with the notion of, what, it can work better, or maybe it's not even working like you think because of this and this and this. So the challenges has always been the staff, engaging the staff, the personnel, to be able to get in line with the objective of the facility or the objective of the different partners that I really try to work with. The other challenge has always been resources. So usually we have an agreement that, we are going to implement quality, and they're so excited. Personally, I don't give services for free, so I'm paid. So they'll pay you for the, like, Viola, come in and we do this. Then you reach in the facility, and you tell them, what, according to the numbers of samples that you're running, we expect to have at least 2 levels of IQC being run, at this frequency, because that's what the standard says. And they're like, what, Viola, we have 1 level of QC and IQC, and we run it only once a week.
Oh, wow.
And they know they're so confident, at least we run IQC, and then I have to tell them, what, because now with whatever I'm telling them, that means they're going to have to buy new vials of IQC, which is a bit expensive. You come in and say, what, I think we have to adopt an EQA program, because you're able to. You can see from a lab that is able to. Let's sign up for an EQA program for artists. How much is that? You calculate, and it's going to be around. It can even go up to 1,000, if not more than $1,000. Okay, sorry, I mean $100,000 if you're not very keen about your pricing. So they look at you like, are you mad? There's a meeting I sat in, and the lady the procurement lady said, ever since Viola came to our site, our costs have gone high, because you are, because you're trying to implement
Yeah.
quality. So quality is not cheap, unfortunately.
Mhm.
It's the gains of it that people see over time, but in the immediate effect, people, it's a bit, so the cost that I've also seen as one of the challenges, and of course, documentation. Of course, it's the staff that are supposed to do it, so it can be, but you can see they're excited about, when I start speaking, they're excited about the things, but putting them in place, telling them that, you know what, now that you've been running your HIV serology test, that is a rapid test kit, it does, you have to document it somewhere. This is the worksheet you can use to do that. It's so hard to change behavior for people to document those. Or you tell them, oh, you've slipped in the laboratory, you've had a fall, document that. They look at you like, what is your problem? And you're saying, no, just document this for me so that I'm able to get a trend. Then we can do a root cause analysis. Is it a problem? We can do a risk. But if you don't document, I will not know. But I've told you, Viola. Yes, you have told me, but I could forget. Or someone else, I could come in. But at the lab, the system in the lab has to speak for itself, whether or not things are changing. Because in quality, we're looking at as much as possible to stabilize the system, even with the different inconsistencies. So if you ask me, in my experience with the teams I've worked with, it's definitely staff, resources, and documentation.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for mentioning that that's staff, resources, and documentation. I would like to ask a very pertinent question about these challenges, right? We're in the African context, and most often we always say, quote and unquote, right? Limited resources. I've been a
Yes.
mentor, yeah, like I mentioned, mentoring most of my facilities that I mentor, they are in resource limited areas, right? Some villages, far off sites. And I would like to ask you, how can we navigate this issue of accreditation in these resource limited settings, right? Like we talk about cost, accreditation or does not come cheap, right? There's always this getting into EQA program, which has a cost and price tag, and it's not cheap. So how can one navigate this? Because I remember one facility I visited when I mentioned them about getting them registered for an EQA program, they were like, where do we get the money from? Just what we get from running the whole hospital. The whole hospital cannot even afford the EQA program. And you want us
Yeah.
just one department of the whole facility to go in for that program. It doesn't make sense. But how can we now navigate around this?
One thing I've always encouraged the clients I work with
Mhm.
is accreditation is a process. If you have time, if you are going to bite everything in one go, it's going to squeeze you. So
Mhm.
give it time. So I usually tell them, let's start with implementing a the documentation, the basics. Okay. Let's
Mhm.
start with the basics that do not have a lot of costs. So we do that, we implement, and then it's about like 3 months in, 6 months in. Depending on the client, can even take a year, depending
Mhm.
on how responsive a client is. And then when we reach there, you have to have someone experienced to hold your hand, because they have to know at the back of their mind that, okay, if this client is unable to do the EQA, what are the alternatives? What alternatives does the standard provide for? Okay. And for these alternatives, what can I do? How can I ensure they partner, with another lab that can be able to
Mhm.
to make the cost a bit bearable. So what I've found to work is I partner up. Since I work with different labs, I'm able to say so and so. Let's all unite, okay, and put our resources together so that the burden is now distributed. Let me say if it's on EQA. And those results, or in terms of an interlaboratory comparison, or in terms of just doing precision comparisons, depending what. So you need someone with experience because there are always alternatives to most of these. There are always cheaper alternatives. Of course, if you want your test scope to be about 1,000 tests, it's not going to help. Because with 1,000 tests comes more costs. But if it's a client whose resources are strained, we can say, okay, we are not able to do this test because of so and so, of this and this, but we can be able to front this particular one, because then the accreditation body will recognize the interlaboratory we are doing, or will recognize the comparison with the precisions, IQCs, that we are doing, or recognize this partnership that you're having with the different laboratories as evidence that it works. So we tackle each step, especially on the resource limitation, as we go by it. But I usually recommend to my clients to take time, not to chew everything at once. You want accreditation, you want it in 3 months. No, the more you take time, finish off this, and then have enough time to think about what other alternatives you have. But it's totally achievable.
That's true. That's true, because there's always this sense of haste, right? This sense of haste that I would say staff feel, right? When it comes to their
Yes,
facility,
yes,
they are like, you want it done now, now, now. You want them to get the accreditation like now, now. But
yes,
getting this clear to them will actually help a lot, right? So that they don't have this
yes,
sense of urgency. Though quality is something that needs to be done for patients to have safer results, but you
yes,
should not feel like too pressured to
yes. It
put in
shouldn't,
place everything,
pressure
put
you.
everything straight, right? So that they can have a cool head and work things out, which is a very important point that many professionals who should understand. Thank you very much
Yes,
for getting that across. We're
yes.
almost done with the questions. I would say this should be the
Awesome.
last question. Before I'll then ask my own personal question. At this juncture, we are done with what the session had envisioned for us today. I would like you
That's
to
good.
give like a keynote message. I want you to give a keynote message and a question for the next guest speaker, right? We are going to start with a keynote before we get to the question for guest speaker. The keynote goes to a junior colleague, an entry-level professional who just got into the field and is like shocked with the realities of what he's facing in the field. So what will be a message that we are going to give to that particular professional?
Thank you very much for that. For a young professional who has just joined, who were once like you, okay, and the fact that we are here means it can be done.
Mhm.
When you're confused, take that as a good sign and teach yourself, okay, as much as you can. Look out for the resources that you need to learn. There's a lot. We have LabTalk right here, bringing on guests. Be able to go to the previous episodes, go back to the previous episodes, be able to learn. We have VIQAP Consultancy. Go to their page, learn more about, the things that they are talking about. Then find out which line of lab do you want to take, because lab has so many different areas. You can go quality, you can go diagnostics, you can go research, you can go animal. What do you want? Do you want sequencing? Do you want to be the lab scientist who is using their brain a lot and they are formulating, making new machines? Or do you want to go into quality? Is it research? So at this juncture, just use it as a learning point. Know which direction in your career you want to take so that it will be easier for you to now concentrate. Personally, I knew that I wanted quality. So everything I did from then was in the line to learn more and learn more about quality management systems, and that's why I'm here. So what do you want to learn? Learn more, research more, read more, and then make a decision and move on with your life. But yes, it's really bright ahead if you don't give up.
Wow, thank you very, very much. Thank you
Yes.
very much for those encouraging words. It's going to
Yes.
take a lot of professional through their tough time, which is going to help them because that's the feeling I got when I entered that accredited laboratory that I mentioned at the beginning, right? I was like shocked, right? At every point you are like writing, you're like
Yes.
documenting, you're like confused. What's going on? Are we not just scanning the microscope,
Yes.
the bacteria in the microscope, and like telling the patient like everything went from
Yeah.
documentation, and like it became a
Yeah.
lot more confusing when it went on, but with time, it's true we cannot exhaust all the point about getting a facility accredited, right? For sure, we are going to definitely invite you for a subsequent session to share more on this particular aspect of the laboratory. So I think we have come to the end of the session. Uh,
Okay.
thank you very much, Madam Viola.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for inviting me. It was a pleasure. You know, talking to another person on the other side. So yes, let's keep in touch.
All right. Thank you very much.
All
Have
right.
a
Bye.
good one. Bye bye.